I'm speaking with Rachel Smith, who is Vice President of Services of the new Media Consortium. Rachel, what does your job consist of at NMC?
Well, I do a lot of different things. We have a very small staff, so we all do different things. I do a lot of research and writing, and I work with the members. And the services that we provide to the members, I'm in charge of overseeing them.
Who are your members?
Our members are, they're institutional memberships, but we work with everybody at the institution. So they're universities, colleges, libraries, museums, any organizations of higher learning. We have some corporate members, partners really, Adobe, Apple, a few others.
And what services do you provide to them?
Well, for the institutional members, the academic members, we do, we have some software called Pachyderm, which is a multimedia authoring tool, and we have a subscription service for that, so they can subscribe to use Pachyderm, and I oversee that. And we have a division called Virtual Worlds, NMC Virtual Worlds, which involves leasing land and building and all kinds of things to do with Second Life.
Now, what does all this have to do with collective intelligence?
Well, everything that the NMC does really has to do with collective intelligence, because our information comes from our members and our impetus for our projects comes from our members. And when we do work, we put it together and return it to the membership.
So you mean your members want a certain type of service, so they say to you, figure out how to provide us this service, and then you figure out?
Not exactly, although sometimes, but that's not usually the model. We have ongoing projects, for example, our Horizon project, which is research into emerging technologies. And the way that we discover what emerging technologies we're going to talk about is by using collective intelligence. So we have an advisory board that's drawn mostly from the membership, but sometimes from outside the membership. And the advisory board sort of looks at the landscape of emerging technology and selects the ones that they think are going to be the most significant for higher education over the next 5 years. And then when eventually the topics, we start out with hundreds of choices, and then it gets down to 6 that we feature in the report, which we write every year in January. And when those topics are chosen, we go back to the membership, the whole membership, not just the advisory board, and we ask for examples of things that they're doing on their campuses, or pieces that they've written or that they know of that have to do with those 6 topics. And we include those in the Horizon report and then put that out. And so what that does is it takes the experience of a lot of our members and distills it and synthesizes it, and then we return it to the membership so they can see what the other members are doing and see themselves featured.
Now, does collective intelligence just mean that a lot of people are participating in the process?
That's a very good question. I think it's a little bit more than that. At the NMC, it's very important to us that everyone feels that their voice can be heard and that they have a safe place to express their opinions and to share what they know. And I think that building that community is the first step in how we get at that collective intelligence, because we're not just asking people to spew things at us, but we present projects, we write grants to do specific projects, and then we ask for members who have experience or skill sets to work on those particular projects to contribute to them, and then we share that back.
Now, you mentioned community, so does that mean that the work of collective intelligence ultimately has something to do with building community?
I think it has everything to do with building community. I think that without a strong community, the results of the collective intelligence are not as consistent or not as valuable. It's difficult to convince people to read and use information that they don't have any need for or any tie with. And so the NMC is very much about serving its community and building its community and targeting the needs for information of its community.
So what's the most important emergent technology that you see developing right now?
Well, the Horizon report that we're about to publish lists 6 of them, and they're divided into different adoption horizons. So there are 2 that we feel will be important in the next year, and then 2 in the next 2 to 3 years, and 2 in 4 to 5 years. And the 2 that are in the near-term horizon that will be big in the next year are mobile is the first one, and cloud computing is the second one. And I think they're both going to have huge impact for education. The thing that really interests me personally about the topic about mobiles, is that you can now, with the iPhone and with Android-capable phones, you can now have third-party applications on your phone. So these are games and productivity applications and shopping lists, all kinds of things that have nothing to do with making phone calls, and that are not created by the people that create the phones, but they're created by people that want to use these applications and want to offer these applications. And the fact that you can have them on a device that you can carry with you all the time in your pocket is just, I think it's huge. And the educational implications of it, I think, are huge.
Now, the educational system in this country sometimes seems a little bit slow to adapt to new ways.
Yes.
Do you see a big need for some kind of collective intelligence tools that will improve the results of the classroom?
Our focus is mostly on higher ed, so I'll speak to that. I think it's also true for K-12, but our area is not, we don't work so much with K-12, although we're starting to. And with higher education, what we're seeing is that a lot of students are using these techniques and technologies already, and that there's a kind of collective intelligence mostly around social applications, that they're using Facebook and other social networking tools like that, and it already exists. So what we think might be important is for faculty to begin to take advantage of the fact that students are already using those tools and find a way to offer educational materials using these things that students use anyway.
Now, some people think that collective intelligence could be really revolutionary. It could really help solve a lot of big problems. Do you see it that way?
I think there's a lot of potential for that, yeah. The second topic that in the Horizon Report that I was talking about, cloud computing, sort of leans toward that.
And what is that exactly?
Cloud computing is using spare cycles in big computer clouds is what they're called, but basically it's loosely organized groups of computing machinery that are running all the time, but not always at full capacity. So they have spare computing cycles, and as a result, you can run applications on them, and people can either use the applications or they can use the spare cycles to do research and that kind of thing.
So if I'm running a lot of applications on my computer, and my computer doesn't have enough capacity, I could offload it to some other computer?
Possibly,
but to
that's one use.
Some kind of cyberspace where some machine directs it and finds an idle...
That's one possible use. Another example is Amazon.com. There's no computer that you can point to and say, that's Amazon.com. It's a group of computers. And Amazon actually offers something called the Elastic Compute Cloud, which is a group of computers that you can rent space and cycles on. You can upload your own application, and then if it needs more processing power than the computer that it's on, it automatically propagates to others.
Do you think collective intelligence ultimately may change the way people actually think as individuals?
I think that's possible. I think that the technology tools that we're seeing now, like the cloud computing and like mobiles, that make it easier for people to work together and to think together, I think are going to change the way we think about how to solve problems. There's certainly an emphasis, it's a slow change in education, but it's a changing emphasis from teaching a student how to work on his own and solve a problem on his own to teaching that student how to find experts to help or find peers to help. And it's a very slow change because it's ingrained in us that it's important to pass the test on your own and not look for help and not look for answers, but that's not the way that people work anymore. There's no one I know who works in a vacuum, and there's no one I know who's expected to know everything they need to know for their job on their own.